Johan Miranda is a Los Angeles-based comedian and writer. When he was 3 years old, he and his parents traveled from Peru to the United States, and he never left. In July 2018, Johan's one-man comedy show, Why Johan Miranda Should Be Deported, opened in Los Angeles. He joins me to talk about his career and living undocumented in the United States. Welcome, Johan. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Let's show our squad a little clip from your show, Why Johan Miranda Should Be Deported. Let's watch.
I was born in Lima, Peru. Moved out here to California when I was 3. My family, I wasn't like an ambitious ass baby. We came here on a tourist visa. We came here on vacation, and we're just not done sightseeing, you know?
It's funny. Yeah, you weren't very ambitious when you were 3 years old, were you?
No.
I mean, nobody at 3 years old decides they want to come to America, right? But you get punished as a result of it. So when did you find out you were undocumented?
It was a slow process. I always knew I was from Peru. I always knew I was an immigrant, but I don't think I really understood that there was like levels.
Right. There was a legal process that nobody ever went through.
Right. It's just so like, I thought this is how every immigrant lived, which is like, oh, this is pretty rough. And then I was like, oh no, there's something special. Like there's something, another layer to it, which is, yeah.
When did you find out? At what age did you find out, you know what, I got no papers?
I think some real clues came. I forget how old I was. I think I had to guess in middle school or late elementary.
Was it rougher once you found out that you were undocumented?
Well, I think I didn't really understand the limits, you know? So like when Arnold ran for governor, the recall of Gray Davis, he ran a platform to repeal driver's license for undocumented immigrants. Mm-hmm. That was like his main promise. And he won.
Right. And he did it.
He did it. And he kept his promise to repeal driver's license for undocumented.
And he was an immigrant himself.
An immigrant himself, yeah. And then it just hit me, like my mom can't give me rides to school anymore because the Terminator took her driver's license. And so I was like, oh, that's weird. I didn't really understand the whole picture. And then shortly after there was the May Day protest, I think 2006, the immigration, that gave me a little more understanding of like the widespread anti-immigration laws that were getting, yeah. And I think really when it became solidified is in high school when I was, 15. I wasn't able to get a driver's license, and also I had no real college. If I went to college, this is before the California Dream Act.
Right. So
when I was in high school, I graduated 2007. You
had to pay full
yes.
fare, and that's even assuming the college would accept somebody who's undocumented. Even if you're willing to pay full fare, one wouldn't take you anyway.
Yeah, I came to understand that even if I was able to go to a college, I would have to pay out the wazoo that I couldn't afford.
Did your friends know you were undocumented? Did your teachers know?
I knew I was from Peru, so I told my friends I was from Peru, and so that's, and none of us, because I didn't understand what undocumented was, I think I didn't just never told. I was just like, oh, I'm from Peru, And I think once I understood that it's a very fragile status to be. You be deported at any time. I was like, no, I'll just keep it to myself. That aspect to it. Yeah.
Now you make a joke in your stand-up show about dating on a dating app. Let's watch a clip.
Right now I have DACA, which is a protected status, which the Supreme Court is going to decide on, which means if it gets repealed, I'm going to lose my driver's license, work permit, and be vulnerable to deportation. It's my new Tinder bio right now. And
is that really your profile on your Tinder? Because people think that you want to marry them to get a green card, right? So when do you share that information with people?
Now that I'm publicly tell people that, I think, if I meet someone, they eventually find, I have a show that's lays it all out.
So how did this trajectory go from you kept it quiet to all of a sudden I'm doing a show and I'm telling everyone I should be deported? That's polar opposites. That's South Pole to North Pole.
I started stand-up comedy in 2010, and I was still this was pre-DACA, obviously. I was still undocumented, so I still wasn't telling anyone. Nobody really knew I was undocumented.
Did you have trouble booking yourself to get on stage? Did anybody ever ask you what your immigration status was to go do a stand-up comedy?
Well, that is one of the beautiful aspects, and I think that's kind of why I got into stand-up, because you don't need any type of documentation. Don't let anyone go.
Just show up and start telling jokes, right?
Yeah, and it felt and I think that's part of what drew me.
Did any comedians ever say, "Hey, you're taking a job away from me, pal"?
most like amateur, like up and coming stand-up comedians, we just get paid in drink tickets. So it's like, what am I taking? Your drink tickets, your nacho orders?
Yeah. You have a clip from your show about you thinking about a different job and maybe taking a job away from some of the cops. Let's watch this.
Like as a kid growing up, I wish we had like an undocumented superhero, like a superhero that like fought crime but like had to leave before the police came. The local police chief was like, "It's great that he's fighting crime, but he's taking our jobs."
That's really funny. There are no undocumented superheroes. We've never seen. Nobody ever asked Superman for his green card. He came from another planet, right? But he was able. Clark Kent was able to work. So when did you start writing comedy?
I was kind of in a hopeless situation where I couldn't get jobs or couldn't get like college or anything. I didn't see any type of future. So I thought, well, what do I have to lose if by trying stand-up? Nothing, you know. So I went and I started stand-up comedy, and you know, I wasn't publicly talking about being undocumented because I was still, you know, worried about getting deported. But once I got DACA, once I got the protected status in 2012, then I started like...
You felt a little more confident.
A little more confident, yeah. You can't, no one can do anything to me unless it's a protected status, you know? Right. So, and I think when I really started talking about it, obviously, is when Trump got elected. And then all of a sudden it threw me in the loop where it's like everything's in jeopardy now.
Sure. Now you have a bit in your comedy show where, you know, people want to go to protests and they say, yeah, I'm undocumented. I'm not afraid. Yeah. But you say you are afraid, even with DACA, right? Yeah, let's watch.
The most popular slogan for undocumented activists right now is undocumented and unafraid, which is a badass slogan, and I understand why it exists. But sometimes I'm afraid, you know? I'm a coward. So I was thinking, how can I personalize that slogan for me, you know, undocumented and unafraid? And the best I could come up with, and I might rock this at the next protest, is undocumented and uncircumcised.
That's funny. That's maybe a little too much information we need to know, but still very funny. So you regret getting DACA now because, you know, Trump is trying to take it away?
The way I look at it is there's no going back to hiding. In order to apply for DACA, you have to give them your fingerprints and your address, like all your information, your biometrics. And so there's no going back. And in a way, it's liberating. It's like, oh, well, they're going to do what they're going to do.
If Trump ever actually gets to repeal it, I think there will be so much political pressure on Congress to pass a bill. I can't imagine any possibility of actually Dreamers getting deported. But
I think you're right. I think he didn't understand what a political fight it would be. I think when he was on the campaign trail, he was just, oh yeah, DACA, let's get rid of DACA. He didn't really understand.
What do you feel about the political conversation, and how would you like that political conversation to change as it refers to Latinos, as it refers to DACA?
The anti-immigrant sentiment is his bread and butter. Obviously, it's what got him into power. You know, the MS-13, anti-immigrants, like, and it's almost sad now. He's like trying to keep it going for this re-election. He's like, the Chinese virus. It's like, come on. It's like, it feels hacked now.
It's very funny in a bit that you do when you talk about how you want to be referred to for the color of your skin. Let's watch.
I'm also often referred to as a person of color. I don't really like the term people of color. I also don't know why the burden is on us to be people of color. Like, I didn't agree to that. That's a raw deal. Like, how about we just call white people people of no color? And the rest of us just keep people.
It's actually very intuitive.
Yeah, it's a very arbitrary. Like, people ask me like, "Oh, what's it like? Well, do you identify as undocumented?" And it's weird to think of like my identity as something that I don't have. You know, kind of, and it's just so because it's so arbitrary. It's like how we don't let felons vote, and that we don't define them by what we take away from them. You know, it's such a weird thing to think about.
So what was the feedback on your show, why Johan Miranda should be deported?
Pretty positive. I've done it a couple times. People have been coming up and saying they enjoy it. I've had one undocumented persons come up to me and say they're going to use my Tinder joke to...
Tinder joke's funny. You made me laugh. I like the Tinder
use that. And I was like, sure. He's not even... Yeah. It's been good. It's been good hearing from people.
So where can people find out more about you and your work?
They can find me on Twitter or Instagram. Both of my handles on both of the social medias are at Johan Comedy, Johan.
Well, you're a really funny guy, and I'm sure DACA will eventually work out for you. Tell me what your American dream is.
That's a good question. We're in a position right now where the government has failed us in Corona, as we're kind of, it feels like we've been left on our own. My American dream is the silver lining in all of this, that we find the strength, a collective strength, and depending on each other, the interdependence. We find the interdependence of human beings, and we can build on that.
Right. Rather than us versus them, we're all in this together.
Yes.
Which I agree. Johan Miranda, thank you very much. Good luck on your career.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.